Hi, I'm Carol at Caromal Colours, and welcome to my studio. I'm working on these 3 pieces of furniture, and as you can see, they're very, very different in style. Bringing them together to look all alike is the goal of this whole process. And because there were so many issues on the surfaces, what I did was I decided to paint them with our Caromal Colours textured paint. This kind of just allowed us to make all of these surfaces look the same. But I rolled it on with our all-purpose fabric roller because it all gets rolled on so easily. And I also, the hard-to-reach crevice areas, I just use our little chip brush. So no expensive tools, super easy. It took less than an hour to paint all of these. So the question is, why do we distress and how much do we distress? And the answer is design. Where is the piece going? What kind of story are you trying to have your piece of furniture tell? Is it something beachy where you just want it to be worn? Is it very French where you want to accent the shape of the piece? Are you trying to make the piece look old? Or even in a very contemporary setting, are you really distressing something because you want it to be the focal point of the room? So those are the things to consider. Often when I'm distressing, for me, sometimes I have to hold myself back because I always feel like the more sanding, the better. So let me show you how to do it. Enough talking, here we go. People always ask me if I sand things by hand, and the answer to that is absolutely never. It's too much work, it's too hard, and it's too time consuming, and I like to do everything really fast and get the pieces in place and enjoy them. So I like to use a hand sander like this. The shape is like an iron, and that's really good. So you want to go for one that's like an iron shape. That's a great little hand sander to hold. The next question that people always ask is, what grit of sandpaper do you use? The lower grits, all the way down to like 50 or 80, are very, very harsh. And the higher numbers, all the way up to 220, is when the sandpaper becomes very fine. I use different grits all the time, and I do it simply by what I'm going for. And also, I don't want it ever to be hard to sand. So I might start with a higher number of like 220 or 150. And if I'm working too hard or I'm not getting enough distressing, instead of working harder, I go down to a lower grit of sandpaper that's rougher. This is what I use to dust off my work. Often I do that outside so the dust can just go flying away. All right, let's get started. So I'm using 100 grit sandpaper on this, and I always sand the entire piece. I don't like to just sand an edge or a special little part because it looks contrived. It doesn't look as beautiful as when you make all of the distressing kind of flow together. So first I'm gonna sand the flat part and see how it feels, and then you're gonna see the distressing start to occur simply by the way I change the angle of my sander, and also the way I put more pressure where I want there to be sanding in all places. I'm not going for an even look. That always looks like a factory finish. I want it to look like a hand finish. So I'll show you how it's done. And then I take the opportunity to get any lumps of paint that I might have or drips or something, and I'm gonna hit those right now. Okay, and now I'm gonna dust this just to show you how beautiful the distressing looks. And sometimes if I want something super aged or to show the use of the piece, I'll sand it right here where the knob is going to go, but I don't want to do that on this piece. Sometimes I use little deli containers to hold my pieces up so I can do a good job. And if they have paint on them, which all of mine do, I cover them with a working rag, and then that paint won't get onto the surface. So I'm going to show you how to sand this door. And see, that just gave it nice support and lifted that up. So I'm going to sand the whole door, and then I'll show you the edges and where I pull in the distressing. Real closely, you see all this beautiful distressing and how the color came up. Now I'm going to show you how to do the tabletop and get in all these crevices. And remember, it's going to be all about my pressure on the sander and also the angle that I work. Done, I'm just going to dust it and then evaluate what I did. And the really good thing about distressing is you can't mess it up, because if you haven't distressed it enough, you can sand it a little bit more. And if there are any areas where you've taken too much off, you can always just go back and roll on a little bit more Caromal Colours paint. So that's how we do it. And you can see all the beautiful details of distressing on that piece. Few minutes and distress the rest of these, and our next video will be showing you how to put a toner or a glaze on top of them. See you next time.